Lies by omission is tonight's theme. It's as it pertains to the Democrats. And so there was an elementary school in southern Iraq that the U.S. hit with airstrikes on the first day of the airstrike campaign against Iran. I'll let Caitlin Collins of CNN take it away and inform you on this one.
Weeks since this war with Iran has been underway, the deadliest incident of civilian casualties was a strike that happened on an elementary school in southern Iran that killed scores of children. Tonight, a CNN analysis of that attack reveals evidence suggesting that the United States military was likely responsible for it. What you're about to see is disturbing. I want to warn you, the United States says it's still under investigation, but this was the scene at the school just after the strikes 1 week ago nearly. CNN has not independently confirmed the death toll, but Iranian health officials and state media believe that at least 168 children and 14 teachers were killed.
Which is a tragedy, right? Anytime something like that happens, it's a horrible tragedy. Nobody wants it, right? She's describing the elementary school that was struck, targeted by airstrikes. That's all we know so far, right, from this description. She's going to go into a little bit more detail here about where exactly the school was located.
Our analysis, which is based on satellite imagery, geolocated videos, and the assessment of munitions experts, suggests that this school was hit around the same time that an attack that American forces had launched on a neighboring Iranian naval base. This new satellite image shows several Revolutionary Guard buildings near the all-girls school. You can see how close they are. In red, you can see the craters at the center of the structures, including the school, and what experts say look like precision strikes. A wall marked.
So, as we get to this part in the reporting, which is a minute now into the video, we learn, and it's the same in the Wall Street Journal article that dropped on this topic, we learn about halfway through that it wasn't just any elementary school that was hit during the airstrikes. It was an elementary school that was actually adjacent to an Iranian Revolutionary Guard military base, a naval base, okay? Now, I'm not saying it's a terrible thing that should happen, and there is a possibility could maybe avoid it, but just looking at this map, for starters, I mean, these buildings are right next to one another. You're talking about the U.S. Navy precision striking these three buildings. And if it does, in fact, if it is confirmed that it was a U.S. strike that hit that elementary school attached to it, I mean, it's essentially a mistake where there were four buildings. I mean, I hate to be even joke, like any kind of joke about it, but do you think Claude could really tell the difference between these four buildings? Now, apparently the only separation here, they did a little bit of reporting as recently as 2015, the school was actually on the naval base. So it was a part of the naval base, right? And then I guess around 2016 or so, they built a wall, like a retaining wall between the two structures, all right? And I guess I'm not here to debate whether, we could have avoided it. What I'm here to debate is the fact that all of these articles about it are labeling it as the U.S. striking an elementary school in southern Iran. None of them within the headlines go into these details that it was actually part of the naval base that was being struck at the time, right? Here's my response on Twitter. So Glenn Beck was the person that brought the article to my attention initially. This was first in a Wall Street Journal article where it's sort of the same thing. It takes you about 3/4 of the way through the article. Here it is. Analysis suggests school was hit amid U.S. strikes on Iranian naval base. It takes you about 3/4 of the way through the article to get to this part. The school at one point was part of the Revolutionary Guard's naval base, according to satellite images from 2013. Roads had led from other areas of the base to the school building that was struck on Saturday. By September 2016, satellite images show the same building was partitioned off and was no longer connected to the base. Which I understand, but that's really, really tricky. So, I replied to him here, said probably don't build a school in an old Revolutionary Guard naval base building, though. And someone, to be fair, points out that a lot of U.S. bases have schools in them, which I understand, but there are some stark differences between those. So in U.S. schools in or around naval bases. Those are typically built in separated military housing areas if they exist. They're there for the families of military that live on base to be able to accommodate the children studying during the year. There's no doubt in my mind that if the U.S. were engaged in any type of threats from an enemy that was formidable enough to attack us, let's say Russia or China, something like that, right? And they were threatening us off of our coast, I live in San Diego, right? If Russia was just off of our coast, bringing warships in there, I can guarantee you that any schools on site at a naval base would immediately be evacuated, right? So my question is, why were they still continuing school in this elementary school that was, I don't even want to say adjacent because it used to be a part of the structure. They're essentially continuing school in this naval base, basically. And that's the difference, is the Iranian regime builds these types of schools in or around very close to actual military targets, right? Which makes it difficult for the military to separate the targets from the civilians, and that's kind of the point. So again, I'm not excusing it. It is a terrible tragedy, but to put the headline out there that the U.S. has struck an elementary school in southern Iran without adding this context makes it sound like we're just willy-nilly shooting elementary schools in southern Iran. It doesn't give you the context. We were actually striking a military base. We hit buildings 1, 2, 3, and then 4 we maybe didn't realize was an elementary school. This is a little bit of footage of some of the Tomahawk missiles that people are saying hit that school. I don't think this is a direct hit on the school. It's a video of at least one Tomahawk hitting one of those Revolutionary Guard buildings in the naval base. That's tough. I'm gonna check the chat. Okay. No longer part of the base. Yeah, it was no longer part of the base, but I mean, it's, just because you build a wall, a small retaining wall between two of these structures, I don't think they even should have had the friggin' school there in the first place. Absolutely was a mistake. There's no reason that someone's saying, someone's just, trying to heckle me a little bit here, but they're saying that a drone can hit a tiny target, which is true. But they're using AI as well, right? I just don't think they were able to determine that there was a difference between these buildings when they were striking that naval base. And if they had some outdated data that shows that this building was in fact originally part of the naval base, what are they going to think? Pete Hegseth, he did an interview with 60 Minutes. He was asked to confirm whether it looked to him like the U.S. had hit the elementary school in the naval base or not. Here's him here.
Earlier in the week about this girls' school, you said the U.S. was investigating it. Have you made any conclusions about whether or not the United States, inadvertently or not, was involved in any military strike at that school?
Well, we're still investigating, and that's where I'll leave it today. But what I will emphasize to you and to the world is that unlike our adversaries, the Iranians, we never target civilians.
There was a report late in the week from 2 officials that it was likely U.S. involvement. Is that report false?
I've already said we're investigating.
If you could tell the American public it definitively was not us, you would tell us, wouldn't you?
I would say that it's being investigated, which is the only answer I'm prepared to give.
You hear him there, he's refusing to confirm and just essentially saying that the U.S. is continuing an investigation, which, I mean, by the reports that I've read, it does look likely to me that it was struck by the U.S. I mean, I don't know that there are any other plausible explanations at this point. We might hear something, things might change, but from what I've seen, it does look likely it was us, it was a mistake. Pete Hegseth, for his part, I think he's saying exactly what anyone would say in this situation, which is if the military is conducting its own internal investigation, obviously they want to be 100% sure that that determination is accurate before they release any response regarding the incident or how they can be better moving forward, So, of course, he's going to say, yeah, we're still investigating it until they know 100% for sure and have a statement to put out. So we'll see how that turns out. Then there's another story in the news. Let me see if I can pull up the news article here. Let's pull up the news article here. This happened in New York the other day. So apparently, there were multiple arrests made after suspicious devices were found outside of Gracie Mansion. That's the home of New York Mayor Zohran Mamdani. This was during an anti-Islam rally and counter-protest. Yeah, they found suspicious devices outside of his home. Pretty terrible news, right? Sounds like somebody was maybe trying to attack the mayor. A couple more stories. These are headlines describing the same thing. Police arrested several people after a smoke generating suspicious device was thrown during a protest at Gracie Mansion. Oh, so there was a protest there. And apparently there was a suspicious device that was generating some smoke. That was interesting. Suspicious devices ignited during protests near Manhattan's Gracie Mansion. Mamdani's official residence. Sheesh. I hope he's okay. That's CBS News. ABC News. NBC News. I wonder if they're leaving anything out. What's this?
Support the white liberal women!
Well, it looks like Jake Lang. Not particularly my cup of tea, but a conservative instigator, catalyst, online celebrity. He was at this. He was actually at this protest here. Saying some stuff to people. Looks like somebody threw something at him. What was that?
Somebody threw a fucking bomb, bro. That was a nail bomb. You seen it? That's a nail bomb. Shit. What's a nail bomb?
Wait, they threw a nail bomb at him? I thought it was thrown at Mamdani's residence or left outside of there. Wasn't that just a smoke generating device?
That was a nail bomb. Jesus is king, and he made it that nail bomb didn't go off. Jesus is king. Thank you, Lord God.
This was how the New York Times described the bomb that it turns out was thrown by a Muslim extremist at a protester here. They described it as smoking jars of metal and fuses thrown at protest near Mayor's house. That's how I describe bombs. Smoking jars of metal and fuses. It is an accurate description of a bomb, I suppose. It's one way to put it. So yeah, Jake Lang was causing some drama. That's kind of what he does. Again, like I'd said, he's not particularly my favorite internet personality. I disagree with a lot of the stuff that he does. I don't disagree with his right to say it, but I think it's a little bit vulgar for my taste. I don't think it's necessary a lot of the time. However, I will 100% stand up for his right to do or say anything like that. Now, I guess he was last I heard of him, he was at these Iranian protests in New York, and he was sort of heckling the Iranian people who were standing up for, I guess, supporting the Iranian regime was the deal, something like that. And next thing I know, there's this reporting that an Islamic extremist threw a nail bomb at him, an actual nail bomb. I think I have a close-up view of the bomb here. Here's what was thrown at him. This was the guy that threw it. There's the Muslim extremist right there, kind of with the long hair. And that at the bottom of the image is the nail bomb in question. So I guess these are just improvised explosive devices. They contain a detonation charge as well as nails so that they cause kind of maximum damage to people surrounding them when they go off. This did not go off, thank God. So he was okay. Here's where is he running? Replay response. I don't know if I have a video of the guy throwing the bomb. I'll try to find one. Anyways, here's Mayor Mom. Oh, here's the guy lighting the fuse. Here we go. So yeah, he was at the protest. He was not too happy with Jake Lang. Here is how the mayor characterized what happened. He says, yesterday, white supremacist Jake Lang organized a protest outside Gracie Mansion rooted in bigotry and racism. That would be your lead for the story. Sure. Such hate has no place in New York City. It is an affront to our city's values and the unity that defines who we are. What followed was even more disturbing. Violence at a protest is never acceptable. The attempt to use an explosive device and hurt others is not only criminal, it is reprehensible and the antithesis of who we are. I want to thank the brave men and women of the NYPD who acted quickly to keep New Yorkers safe. Our officers ran toward danger without hesitation, demonstrating once again the courage and dedication it takes to protect this city every single day. So, the way this reads, and the way I read it when I first read this statement from him, because I hadn't heard about what happened, it sounds like he's saying, number one, he thinks Jake Lang was a white supremacist. And in the second paragraph here, what followed was more disturbing. Violence is never acceptable at a protest. The attempt to use an explosive device to hurt others. It sounds like he's saying that Jake Lang threw an explosive device at the protest. That's what I assumed was happening. Like, legitimately, I was like, is this for real? That guy that I don't already particularly like threw a bomb at people? Like, what even is this? But that's not what happened. He fails to mention here that it wasn't Jake Lang who caused the violence. It was actually a Muslim terrorist, a Muslim extremist, a citizen of New York who didn't like what Jake Lang was saying, obviously doesn't feel that he has a right to say that, and came in and decided to try to kill him. But the way that Mayor Mamdani frames this, the problem isn't Muslim extremism. And this is what's important to note. Again, the theme of tonight's show is the Democrat lies by omission. So what he's doing here is he's reframing an incident that looks bad for Muslims, which is what he doesn't want. He doesn't want to come out and say, hey, there was a disturbing incident of Muslim extremism in my city. You might disagree with what Jake Lang was saying, but he has every right to say it. And violence is never acceptable. He doesn't come out and say that. He omits the Muslim extremism entirely. He pins the cause of the violence on Jake Lang. That's the way this reads, is that what followed, and that's an important line, that second paragraph, he starts by pointing out the problem in his eyes, which is that to him, a white supremacist came in, agitated everyone, had no place in the city to be able to do that. Really, what happened to freedom of speech? I think he does have a right to be in that city and do that. I think it does have a place, actually, because you're in America. So he came in, he did what he has every legal right to do, and then he's saying that that caused what followed, which was what followed was violence, which he doesn't even have the balls to call out who caused the violence. He keeps it ambiguous because this is how Democrats do things. They basically work in conjunction. When you see Mayor Zohran Mamdani omitting certain facts, and you see the other major news outlets, NBC News, ABC News, CBS News, as we just went over, working in conjunction with him, all omitting the same important facts of the story, your initial reaction might be, oh, how dumb are these people? Right? How dumb are Democrat readers? They can't even get basic facts straight. It's not stupid at all, right? It's intentional. And that's the thing you need to understand, is they lie by omission to reframe reality itself. So what happened in New York the other day wasn't an instance of Muslim violence or Muslim extremism. It was an instance of white supremacy, which caused some after effects, right? So just a little something to point out. What's going on in chat? Oh, we're not even in the... Am I still live? I think I might be still live. I dropped out of my chat and I was in just some random, probably a OnlyFans girls chat randomly. I don't know why my algorithm always pulls me into those. What's up, Donna and Pixie Dust? How's it going? What else we got tonight? Lies by omission. Yeah, and back to, I was just trying to connect that to the Minab school shooting. I believe it's called Minab. Not school shooting, school bombing, I'm sorry. which again is a terrible thing, but all of the headlines are saying that the U.S. struck an elementary school in southern Iran. That's leaving out the important context. They struck an elementary school connected to an Iranian naval base amid strikes on that same naval base, right? A tragedy either way, right? I'm not going to sit here and say, you know, killing little girls in a school is any way, you know, excusable or anything like that, or not a tragedy. You know, it sucks, and war does suck. But the Iranians mixing in civilian buildings with military targets, are putting them right next to each other and continuing to operate that school while under threat of naval attacks from the U.S. is insane, and it's definitely not helping the situation, right? So, yeah. But the least that the media could do is be genuine in the reporting and let people know those facts up front, so they don't think the U.S. is running around targeting elementary schools in southern Iran, which is how people are framing it, because they would love to, you know, basically put something negative out about Trump and what he's doing in Iran, and this is the thing that they found. So it's another lie by omission. Leave out the important details, right? And you change this story.